First, you should receive an email from Deel inviting you to sign up for the platform. Once you click through to create and confirm your Deel account, you'll be brought to this page that asks, what kind of contractor are you, entity or individual? We ask this because some countries require contractors to set up an entity for their billing, while others don't. So, select the choice based on how you've set up your contractor business in your country of tax residence and click Next. On this page, fill out your individual details and click Complete Profile to set up your account. The next and most important step is to complete activation by verifying your account, which takes less than 5 minutes to do. If you don't verify your account, you will not be able to withdraw your funds. To verify your account, click Complete Activation here. This will redirect you to Verif, our partner for ID verification. Click Continue. Here, you'll see a few options to get verified. For those with a smartphone, you can scan the QR code or have a link sent to you by text. If you don't have a smartphone, you can click Continue with your current device here. Next, you'll be prompted to prepare to take a photo of your passport or another government-issued ID and take a selfie. This process ensures payments and funds are going to the correct person. It will take up to a maximum of 24 hours for your account to be completely verified.
So you want to hire an employee in another country? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Guy from Deel, and we're leading the charge to help every business hire anyone, anywhere around the world. So let's jump right into it. If you're trying to hire an employee in another country, chances are you'll need to set up an entity. That means you'll probably hear your CFO saying something like, not another one, really? Or HR being like, now we have to figure out all the local labor laws. It's not a super easy or fun thing to set up. It basically means you need to have a local office, an address registered as a subsidiary, a local bank account. Having to do all this, plus navigating regional benefits, payroll, taxes, compliance, HR laws, can take a long time, costs a lot of money to do. Your business can also get into some trouble if you don't properly comply with the local labor laws. Think things like termination, parental leave, minimum wage. Have you ever tried terminating someone in France or Brazil? Trust me, it's a headache. And that's when an EOR comes in handy. So what exactly is an EOR? An EOR allows companies to quickly hire an employee anywhere in the world without having to set up a local entity. Essentially, the EOR acts as a local foothold in a country where the business operates in. So they can seamlessly hire an employee on a business's behalf. Say you're a British business and you want to make a hire in Argentina. Well, with an EOR you can. So once you onboard with an EOR, they'll take care of everything. Hiring, onboarding, HR admin, so you're fully compliant to hire everywhere. So, how does this all work? While an employee will be on the payroll of the EOR, they'll still technically work for the company using the EOR, just like any employee. When the EOR onboards the employee, they'll sign a localized contract with explicit details of their role and their responsibilities at the company where they're working. So on the EOR's end, they handle everything related to hiring. That means creating the compliant contracts, making sure income taxes and salaries are paid, and covering social contributions as well. Basically, all statutory requirements in that country. Now, while the EOR takes care of all this, it's the company's responsibility to pay the employer costs. So what do employer costs actually entail? Now, employer costs are the benefits, the taxes, and the fees a government actually requires the employer to pay when hiring in their country. These costs are based on the employee's salary. They're different in every country, and they can change year over year. Let's talk about equity. The big question we always get asked, can the business provide employees with equity? The short answer is yes, but it really depends on the country. For example, in the US, companies can issue what's called non-qualified stock options, also known as NSOs. Since the company doesn't actually have a direct relationship with the employee, the NSO is actually the only viable option. So how do you handle benefits? Each country has its own set of laws with benefits they have to provide to employees. These range from health and unemployment insurance to social security. The EOR exists to ensure every employee receives all the necessary localized benefits, along with any optional benefits the employer would like to also provide. How to deal with intellectual property and non-competes. EOR services tend to have IP protection clauses built into their contracts. This means that any and all IP passes through to the customer. It's not the only way to do this, but it is the most enforceable. Also, it's good to note that while in theory a non-compete sounds ideal, they don't typically work internationally. And lastly, what about contract termination and severance? Handling these according to a country's local labor law is crucial. These laws often vary depending on the employee's location, though typically you always need to pay attention to the proper termination notice, the severance payouts, and managing any accrued benefits like unused holidays. The EOR manages the entire process to ensure everything goes super smoothly. Luckily, with Deel, you can use us as your EOR to hire seamlessly in over 100 countries worldwide. It's payroll, compliance, and full-time employment all in one dashboard. Yeah? Again?
In this video, we'll go over the key Deel features for clients to hire internationally, manage HR, and run payroll. To hire internationally with Deel, you can create a locally compliant contract by clicking Create a Contract tab. Then, select who you are hiring, an employee or a contractor. Next, you can choose from the list of contract types. After that, you'll be guided through the contract creation process. Each flow has slight differences depending on the type of contract you selected. But in general, you'll first be prompted to fill out your hire's personal information and compensation details. Here, you'll see our Market Rate Insights tool that can help you determine a competitive salary for that employee's location, job title, and seniority. Then you can add extra items such as stock options offer, co-working space membership, additional documents, and special clauses. Next, you can use a Deel contract or upload your own contract. You also have the option to add a background check. Once you create the contract, you can review and sign it on the platform. And then you can invite your contractor or employee to sign it. They will receive an email invite to sign up for Deel, and then they can review and sign the contract directly on the platform. Next, you can use the tracker to check the status of your team's onboarding, visa applications, and any employee contracts ending. Here, there's the Analytics feature where you can get a full picture view of your workforce data. Click into Reports, and you can view and download different types of reports such as invoice summary, payment summary, people summary, etc. Now, you'll have access to the Compliance and Documents section. Here you can see an overview of all the local compliance documents required for your team. Here, you can filter based on contract status and action required. Now, let's dive into payments. Here you'll see action items at the top such as items to approve and payments to make. Down here, you'll see all your statements, receipts, and invoices. To start the payment process, click Pay up here. Then you can easily pay your whole team in one go, or pay individually. You'll follow the simple payment flow, select your payment method and confirm payment, and that's it. Next, under Apps and Integrations, we have a wide range of integrations available with your favorite accounting, expense, hiring, payroll, and SSO tools. Lastly, we'll move on to perks and extras. Here you have access to Slack plugins to streamline your HR work. Then, we offer clients perks, which include discounts to your favorite services and brands. Under here, you can access the Hiring Toolkit to help you navigate international hiring across 80+ countries.
Let's walk through how to switch your account type from individual to entity. First, click Settings on the left sidebar here. Then click Personal. Now you'll see that your contractor type is currently set as individual. Click the pencil icon here. Now this pop-up will appear prompting you to set up as an individual or as an entity. Click Set up as an entity and done. Now it'll take you to this page with this form. Make sure to fill it out with the same applicable information about your entity based on how you set it up in your country. Then click Next. Here, you'll fill out the form with your personal information. Then click Complete Profile. Now your account is set up as an entity. Next, navigate to Compliance Documents. There are now new compliance documents that you'll need to upload as an entity. If you need to switch your account type from entity to individual, follow the same steps by clicking Settings, and then Personal, and then click the pencil icon here. Then click Set Up as an Individual, and then your account type will be switched over to individual. Now let's look at how you can add an adjustment to your invoice. Find the contract that you want to add the adjustment to and click to open it. Here you'll see the Adjust button. Click on it and then select the type of adjustment. Enter the amount, confirm the date of the expense, and you have the option to add a reason for your expense. You can make this adjustment recurring by toggling this button on, off here. And lastly, you can attach a file such as receipt. When you're done, click Adjust Amount. You'll see the adjustment show up here under Invoice Details. If you made a mistake, you can always click on the Delete button. Click Yes, Remove, and then it's removed.
I'm Sammy from Deel, here to show you how simple, secure, and painless hiring around the world can be. At Deel, we help any business tap into talent globally with a few clicks. Navigating this process can be a bit of a struggle because there's lots to consider. To break it down, we'll run through 3 ways you can hire around the world to help you figure out which option is best for your business. Hiring employees globally using an entity. You can hire using an entity. It means your business has a local business set up to run in another country. This usually includes a local office, a registered address as a subsidiary, and an account with a local bank. Imagine having to set all of this up, then on top of that, navigating regional benefits, payroll, taxes, and HR laws. It can take a long time. And if you're trying to get your business up and running fast, it can really throw a wrench into your growth. Hiring employees globally using an employer of record. Hiring using an employer of record, or EOR, like Deel, allows companies to make quick hires without all of the admin work. So all that stuff we talked about earlier, this makes it a whole lot easier. Essentially, an EOR has a local presence in the country where a business wants to hire. They then hire the employee on behalf of the business and handle any HR admin like contracts, benefits, taxes, payroll, and compliance. There are a few things to be mindful of when hiring using an EOR. While a company's employees will be on the EOR's payroll, they'll still work for and report to the company using the EOR. They're just like any other employee, but the paper arrangement is strictly for compliance sake. To recap, the pros of hiring using an EOR are it's super quick, saves you tons of money on legal fees, ensures you're locally compliant, and includes regular review of local laws so you're always up to date. Hiring team members as independent contractors. There's a third way companies can hire all over. It's definitely the quickest, easiest, and most cost-effective way for businesses to start building a remote team around the globe. 2 of the biggest obstacles with hiring independent contractors are misclassification risks and tax evasion. So what does this mean exactly? Misclassification occurs when a business wrongly or even accidentally labels workers as independent contractors instead of employees. It's important to know that laws vary from country to country. Most commonly, contractors need to determine their own working hours, use their own equipment, and have sole responsibility to pay their own taxes. It's important to make sure whoever you're contracting with and whatever their location, you have a solid, localized agreement in place. It needs to cover both involved parties, including local laws for your business's location and regulations for the contractors. That way, you make sure you're minimizing your risk and your business bases are covered. These things are super important. If your business doesn't set things up correctly in a contractor agreement, your business can get into a bit of trouble with local governments. Even if your working relationship seems all good, your business can end up paying hefty fines if a contract is incorrect. You should make sure that anyone you work with is correctly registered and set up to work as a contractor in their country of residence. I can assure you, creating a Google Doc as a contract and PayPaling your contractor money weekly is definitely not the way to go. And you probably know that too, right? When working with someone as a contractor, Deel's a great place to do it compliantly. You can get set up in seconds and onboard your first contractor in minutes. All you have to do is fill in a few details and send a locally compliant contractor agreement. Once everything's signed and they're onboarded, we'll automatically collect tax and compliance documents to make sure they're set up correctly as an independent contractor. Plus, we'll handle payroll, automate invoices, and provide support 24/7. It's an awesome experience for businesses and independent contractors everywhere. If you want to learn more, reach out to us at letsdeal.com.
Lovely. Another one to there, please. I'm Guy from Deel. We help businesses all over the world to compliantly hire and pay anyone, anywhere. However, managing payments and compliance for independent contractors can be, well, not great and a little tricky. Luckily, I'm here and you're watching this. I've got the hang of this thing now. Yeah. When paying contractors, there are a lot of things to consider. A few that come to mind include transfer fees, exchange rates, various payment methods, managing invoices, and of course, the big one, compliance. Okay, so say you're hiring in Japan or Canada, chances are your contractors are going to want to get paid in the local currency and also in the payment method they prefer. Payment providers like TransferWise and Payoneer are also really common with contractors. These payment methods can save money on things like exchange rates and transfer fees. And just to make things a little bit more complicated, each country has its own way of handling things, like local account details like IBANs and routing numbers. It's also super important to make sure that whoever you're contracting with and whatever their location, you have a solid localized agreement in place. You also need to make sure that anyone you work with is correctly registered and set up to work as a contractor in their country of residence. Every country has a different way of doing this. So if your business doesn't set these things up correctly in a contractor agreement, your business can get into a bit of trouble with local governments. Even if your working relationship seems all good on the surface, your business can end up paying hefty fines if the contract is incorrect. I know what you're thinking, a lot of moving parts, right? Along with this, you also need to deal with invoices for every payment. Yeah, doing this for one contractor may be manageable, but what happens when you're starting to work with 10, 20, 30 contractors? It can turn into a bit of a nightmare. Okay, so let's split these payment options up. When paying contractors, you have a few options: a bank transfer, a payment provider, or deal. Paying through international bank transfers. Yes, it is possible to pay a contractor using an international bank transfer. All you need is their account details, and then you can usually take care of the payment using your online bank. But there are a few things to consider. The most important is making sure that they get the total amount you agreed on. When you transfer money internationally, it usually happens via SWIFT. This means some fees and exchange rates are involved with markups of up to 3 to 5%. So after all these deductions, it's tough to know exactly how much the contractor will receive, plus these payments sometimes can take up to 5 days. Okay, so let's take a quick break and talk about another option: paying via payment providers. Using payment platforms like TransferWise and Mercury gives you a lot more clarity into what fees you'll actually incur. You can also make bulk payments in multiple currencies at the same time, so your finance team gets a little break there. But there are some things that you'll still need to handle manually. They include things like collecting and paying invoices, handling tax compliance, and sending the money manually. So doing this for a large team or even a few contractors can be a lot of hassle. And most crucially, without a solid localized agreement in place, you're exposing your business to a lot of risk. As I mentioned earlier, if your business doesn't set these things up correctly in an agreement, your business can get into a bit of trouble with local governments. So we should probably talk about Deel, right? Well, we streamline worldwide compliance and payments for global teams. This means companies can compliantly and seamlessly pay contractors and employees all over the world. We ensure all contractors can work and get paid no matter where they're located. From collecting legal documents to making payments with fully compliant contracts, it's all done for you. Any business can quickly review their team's salaries anytime and fund payroll in just a single click with one mass payment in multiple currencies. Plus, the money arrives to the contractor's account on payday through whichever payment methods that they prefer. Lastly, but most importantly, you'll also get instant digital invoices for every payment made. Contractors no longer need to generate them and will seamlessly sync everything with your favorite accounting software. So, that's the deal. Now let's give your team the experience they deserve. Sababa? And that's a wrap.